If we are to proceed from the current economic state of Russia, then there is a high probability that we will lose this particular confrontation once again, just as we lost during the Cold War.
But we have more missiles, actually. We already have ready ones deployed there.
Threatening? Only one can do it. Putin has the right.
Provocative question.
I believe I really don't want to go to prison.
Medvedev as a politician is not particularly, I would say, competent.
Trump threatened Russia with sanctions if Russia doesn't agree to talks on Ukraine. Medvedev then said Russia would see this through to the very end. Trump replied Medvedev's a failed president, he shouldn't interfere, and Medvedev began to threaten with nuclear weapons. Who do you think is right? Who is wrong in this situation?
What? Is this a joke?
No, serious.
Our president's not Medvedev.
Yes, the president is not Medvedev, the president is Putin.
And why was he talking with Medvedev?
Well, they had such an online altercation.
If we consider the economic state of Russia, then there's a very high probability that we will lose this confrontation again, just as we lost the Cold War.
Because economically, our current situation is very, weak. We probably should have tried to negotiate. On the other hand, Medvedev did well. I mean, he has plenty of money. He's not one to hold back his words. What did they tell him? He just said it. He's not the main guy. You need to be talking to Putin, not, well, Medvedev. What can you expect? Medvedev is Medvedev. The so-called political establishment, the highest echelons of power in both Russia and Ukraine, and in fact across all developed nations of the world today, it has undergone a very significant degradation when compared, for instance, to the political composition that was in place, well, let's just say, back during the 1980s and 90s.
Medvedev as a politician is not particularly competent, I would say, because politicians should be characterized by calmness, making certain balanced decisions and not allowing, letting loose with words at such a high level, especially with the leaders of another country. One needs to be more restrained and somehow control their emotions.
Do you think it's professional to blackmail rivals with nuclear weapons like that?
Well, I don't believe so, because there will still be innocent victims. The common people will suffer first and foremost, but the presidents themselves and the disagreements between these two individuals, no, most likely not.
Now look, Trump has just sent 2 nuclear submarines off the coast of Russia, specifically in response to Medvedev's threats. Do you think that's fair?
That's a provocative question. Well, most likely not, because it's one thing to threaten and another to act.
It's a rather tricky question. I don't know how others will view it, but I think probably not. I think everyone would say so.
So threatening with nukes was wrong?
Perhaps not worth it.
Well, first of all, an ultimatum is one thing, but making threats is a completely different matter. Only Putin has the authority to do that. And even then, it's only to be used in the most extreme circumstances. None of us, absolutely no one, wants a nuclear war, neither their side nor ours. And we all just want to bring this to an end as quickly as possible.
Medvedev, of course, shouting that we will now strike with nuclear weapons. I think that he is probably wrong in this case. It should be done more gently, from a diplomatic point of view. And Trump, what about him? He is just a trader, a regular hustler.
To threaten is one thing, to act is another. But in my opinion, Vladimir Vladimirovich should be the one to decide here.
They're arguing, and what's the use? The most important thing is that the world was peaceful. There was no anxiety, and that was all.
Trump has now sent 2 nuclear submarines to Russia's shores, so he takes this seriously. And are you afraid of nuclear war?
No, that is absolutely not going to happen. He will definitely be afraid of us.
But now Trump isn't scared. He sent 2 subs.
But we actually have more missiles, We've got them already prepared and waiting there. The president, he said it himself.
They have them too. You see, if there's a nuclear exchange, the planet could just be destroyed.
And that's the end of it.
None will remain.
Well, let it be. We are simply old. What? Where would we go? Let it be.
I believe I really don't want to go to prison. I think it's still too early for me to get involved in politics, and for me these kinds of arguments are not what I want to participate in.
Not political?
Overall, I'm not interested now. I'm more into other fields, art.
Even if you're out of politics, do you think such public figures, some diplomats and so on, should behave like this?
Well, such specific statements, like they're suggesting to just nuke someone, that's of course, in my opinion, not very good. They are, after all, diplomats, they have some education, right? And I believe that at times they need to be more restrained and politically correct.
Probably said it right.
Who of them?
Medvedev, he told Trump correctly.
Is nuclear blackmail acceptable?
But they are also blackmailing Russia with sanctions and things like that.
But sanctions and nukes are different.
They're different, but it's still blackmail, you know, it really is.
Well, I absolutely support Russia in this situation as a true patriot. I believe that a sufficient number of sanctions have already been imposed, and they have no right to constantly threaten with sanctions.
Do you think Medvedev's nuclear threat isn't a lesser evil?
This is also quite wrong and not good, because nuclear weapons are quite dangerous, which I sincerely hope will not be used in our wars. I hope wars will stop altogether and never happen again.
How do you think we should diplomatically handle this now?
Well, perhaps the main thing is for negotiations with Ukraine, with whom we have a conflict, to happen now. That's it. That's the most important thing right now.
We admire Medvedev.
Why?
And he is generally very correct and smart, and he speaks the whole truth.
Look, he started threatening Trump with nuclear weapons. Is he right in this?
And what is Trump doing? Isn't he threatening?
Trump is threatening with sanctions.
Why? He deployed 2 nuclear submarines.
In response to Medvedev's words, yes.
No, he was planning to do it even earlier.
Of course, we don't just think, we monitor this.
Where are you tracking, sis?
We all read the press everywhere.
What press do you usually get and where?
Any. We collect everything. We sit all day.
Look, actually, we don't know what motives Trump had there, but he sent submarines right after Medvedev's words, so that's the sequence.
He would have sent them anyway. He would have sent them anyway.
For what purpose?
And what is he doing there? We don't know anything at all. I don't trust him at all. He's some kind of inadequate president.
Why inadequate?
The smartest person. He's cool. He's the head of America. America is the biggest. Everyone else, including Putin, should submit to him, stand on their hind legs, and listen carefully to what he says. There's no difference in intelligence between him and the previous one.
Well, look, yes, on one hand, an eccentric personality. On the other hand, he wants to end the military actions. That is, he is making efforts towards this. Do you think in this case he has a good cause or not?
For him, the point of ending military affairs is business. Because he's a businessman, not a politician. He has never been a politician. He is a pure businessman. Therefore, from this point of view, and if he were a politician, he would still do things differently. Reagan didn't act like that.
How do you think he should have acted?
Well, if he wants to prevent all this, he no longer wants to listen to anyone. Stop supplying weapons to Ukraine. That's it.
So, do you think this will be the right decision?
We think so, yes.
Well, in that case, that Trump probably supports Ukraine, that is, he's kind of trying to maintain a certain balance, and if there is no weaponry in Ukraine, then Russia will conquer Ukraine, so he is most likely reasoning this way.
You know, it's one thing to talk and another to act. He talks a lot, and sometimes beautifully, but then it all turns out the opposite. That's why we don't trust him.
Could you give examples of things he said and then it turned out the opposite?
He said he will not help Ukraine with weapons. Well, how? Restrict everything there. It's time to finish it.
He's just making a clever move. He personally does not supply weapons. He sells it to Europe. What Europe does is not his concern. That's the kind of politician he is. Isn't it the same thing?
Yes, but he only started doing this after, according to his words, Putin refused to negotiate.
Yes, he would do it anyway, because he can't understand the reasons for this event. He doesn't care about some Russian there that they were somehow beaten. They supposedly live in Ukraine and can do whatever they want there. He can't understand this. So in fact, he does things without understanding what. Nothing will work out for him. This can only end in an even bigger, maybe a fight over time.
Why do you think so?
Well, how is Europe feeling? It's like a second Hitler has come to power in Germany. He's a pure Nazi.
Merz, or whatever his name is, I forgot.
Nasty one, glasses wearing.
Well, that's natural because most of them are children of former SS members, former fascist generals, or grandchildren, and therefore naturally the ideology of their ancestors for them. More important, there is not a single smart person like Bismarck. Now Bismarck was a smart person.
Well, what do you think? Why do you say now that Merz is closer to Hitler than to Bismarck? Why is that?
Because he propagates Nazi ideology. But Bismarck said something completely different, and about Russia, he said that it's not worth getting involved with Russia at all.
But they are meddling, do you think so?
Of course, they are meddling. They are, well, take even these small Baltic countries. It's like little dogs starting to bark. They don't even let Estonian citizens into Russia anymore.
On an excursion?
They don't let them in. They stand at the border for several hours. Well, probably letting them through drop by drop now. And that's it. Although from Russia, people go there without any issues.
Look, well, regarding Merz, he is the leader of the Christian Democratic Union. That's the name of the party, so it's not a Nazi party, it's the Christian Democratic Union.
Well, that's the name.
The name is one thing, but the actions are another.
And if you listen to him, his essence is Nazi.
What is he saying?
And for them, Russians have always been some kind of rabble. And bears walk the streets.
Do you think they still believe that?
Well, of course, some still think so. I am more than sure.
Don't we have stereotypes about them? Do you think we don't think in stereotypes about them?
No, we didn't really have stereotypes about them. Although there was a war and many of our people were killed, we traveled to Germany peacefully. In East Germany, it's a completely different politics. They actually call them fascists.